Nous sommes en audience publique, monsieur.
The court officer, we're in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Khan, how are we doing?
Your Honour, we're on course, and I've been in consultations with my friend, so the witness will be released, God willing, by 4 p.m. Witness, you recall a time when my client, Mr. William Ruto, approached the Commission. Is that right?
Yes, he did.
And he wished to come to speak to you. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And the reason he wanted to speak to you is that he had been adversely mentioned in the report of the KNHCR, and he wanted to make himself available. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that's why he wanted to speak to us.
And you'll recall, will you not, that one of his complaints is that he was never afforded the opportunity by the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights to counter any allegations or put his side of the story. He was adversely mentioned without being heard. And he told you that, didn't he?
I believe he did.
And he actually came to you towards the end of the work of the Commission. Is that right?
Yes, I believe it was in October.
In fact, is it right that you had come back from Mombasa? You had almost finished writing the report, and it was an ad hoc hearing after you had come back from your retreat.
I believe so. It was either then or we specifically went back to Nairobi to hear him and a couple of others.
There was no recording of that meeting, was there?
I believe there were notes taken by the secretary, but it wasn't a hearing as such. Yes. It was recorded electronically. No.
Yes. So it wasn't a hearing. You simply accepted his request to see you, and he could speak to you. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, under the WACI report, it's page 16 of the WACI report, it says, one of the fundamental principles of law is that the application of the rules of natural justice is the application of the rules of natural justice in the adjudication of disputes. The other is the presumption of innocence. As one of the rules of natural justice, which the Commission jealously guards, is that no one should be condemned without giving them an opportunity to be heard. Pursuant to this principle, the Commission hoped that it would have an opportunity to serve all individuals adversely mentioned during its inquiry with notices of such mentions and grant them an opportunity to record their evidence with the Commission. For this Commission, that opportunity never arose for a large number of adversely mentioned persons, except for a few who came before us. You recall those words of the report?
Yes, I do.
When Mr. Ruto came before you, he was never confronted by the Commission and told, this is said about you or that is said about you. That never happened, did it?
No, I don't believe so.
No. And yet, he was never given a chance by you to counter any of the allegations that you had heard in your 2 months, had he? That's right, isn't it?
That's right.
Did his name appear in the envelope? The famous Kofi Annan envelope given to the prosecutor of the ICC. Was his name included in that envelope?
I believe it was.
And the report says, the bit I read, that many were not given the opportunity, except those that came before you. When he came before you, complaining that he hadn't been given an opportunity to explain what he said was a false and fabricated account at the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, do you really think it was fair for the commissioners to sit silent and not give him a chance to explain before his name was put in an envelope that started this ICC case? Natural fairness. What's your answer, sir?
Your Honours, may I at this point object? This witness has testified that the Commission's findings made no adverse findings in their report about any individuals as far as their criminal responsibility was concerned.
Your Honour, I don't want evidence from the bar, with the greatest of respect. That's an improper objection. I referred to the WACI Commission. The rules of procedure say the same thing. The substantive text talks about rights of confrontation to those...
Mr. Khan, let Mr. Steinberg finish his objection.
In the context from which my learned friend takes this was the debate which the witness testified about in his evidence in chief about the decision to name or not to name individuals who were implicated in criminal offences. And at the end of the section, the report explains why it decided not to name those individuals. And in fact,
what's your objection, Mr. Steinberg?
My objection, Your Honour, is that taxing this witness, well, this witness is being accused of unfairness, but in fact, the witness made no adverse findings against Mr. Ruto. The fact that his name was referred for subsequent investigations in proceedings in which he is represented and has been given adequate opportunity to defend himself with respect is unfair to this witness.
Your Honour, may I continue?
Yes. Can you respond to the objection?
Your Honour, actually, I didn't view it as an objection rather than an argument, with the greatest of respect.
He says you're being unfair.
Your Honour,
He says that's an unfair question.
Your Honour, with the greatest respect, it's not an unfair question in our respectful submission. It was a tremendously unfair process that contradicted the stated rules of procedure of the Commission and the report itself, which says that people, a few that came before us, were given that opportunity. And when William Ruto, one of the high-ranking, most high-profile politicians, came before the Commission, pleading with them to be heard because of an unfairness in the Kenyan National Commission of Human Rights report that is relied upon by the WACI Commission, he, in breach of their own rules of procedure, and we say the rules of natural justice, was not given an opportunity to explain, Mr. Ruto, did you give guns at your house? Did you try to expel non-Kalenjins and Kikuyus from the North Rift? Why on earth not give an individual an opportunity to respond, but secret their name away in an envelope to give to a foreign prosecutor? We say that violates the mandate of the WACI Commission and is massively unfair to William Ruto, because at no stage has he been given, we say, until he's come before your honours, far too late in the day, and we say needlessly, if these basic rights had been adhered to, has he been given an opportunity to explain himself? And Your Honour, my learned friend is wrong. He says nobody was named. It's not true that nobody was named. People were named in an envelope, and my question is to that. It's page 18 of CIPEV.
Isn't that question argumentative?
Well, witness, if I can put a different question. Witness, that was unfair, wasn't it?
It doesn't change it. It's precisely an argumentative question that you can make submissions upon at the end of the day. Isn't that the case?
Your Honour, I'll move on.
Objection sustained.
Witness, what was your legal basis? Well, did you give an envelope with names to the President of the Republic of Kenya that appointed you?
No.
Why not?
The rationale, I guess, for what we did in terms of the envelope is included in the report, I believe, in the...
As a commissioner, I'm asking you, because I haven't seen it in the report. Why didn't you give an envelope with names to the President of the Republic? Why?
Mr. Khan, he says that the rationale is in the report. We can leave it at that.
Your Honour, it's simply not in the report. I've read it till it's dog-eared and falling to pieces. It's not in the report. There's no mention in the report about giving the letter to the President. The only thing is, we all know, a letter with great fanfare was presented to the prosecutor of the ICC. So, Your Honour, in my respect, it's a very important question. If the Wacky Commission was there to try to improve a domestic process, why not give it to the President of the country so that the domestic mechanisms also could investigate?
Your Honours, I'm afraid my learned friend is mistaken there. The envelope was not given by the Commission to the ICC. And this is indeed set out in the report at the top of 18, and I'll read it. After debating all of the problems about hearing adversely mentioned people, the Commission said, top of page 18, 0392, the Commission has carefully weighed the choices available to it and has decided against publishing the names of alleged perpetrators in its report. Instead, these names will be placed in a sealed envelope together with supporting evidence. Both will be kept in the custody of the panel of African eminent personalities, pending the establishment of a special tribunal to be set up in accordance with our recommendations. And it was only in default of Kenya setting up such a tribunal that the alternative recommendation that the name should be forwarded to the ICC was brought into motion. So it's not correct to say that the Commission sent those names to us.
Your Honor, let me put the question a little bit more accurately in that case, if that's the parameters of the objection. Witness, why were individuals adversely mentioned by your Commission put in a sealed envelope and given to foreigners, the panel of eminent African personalities, and not given to your appointing authority that paid for you and paid for the Commission? Why?
The process, as has already been stated, the Commission determined not to mention anyone in the report adversely in the way that others had. And we felt that as one of the opportunities, if you like, or say whatever the term is, to safeguards to assist a process, would be to make a recommendation as to how we thought things might, the special tribunal be established, that sort of thing, and that the evidence could be secured in a neutral way, I guess, and be afforded to that tribunal for investigation.
Let me try and be a little bit clearer. Is it correct that the confidential material from the Wacky Commission was deposited with the President of the Republic of Kenya?
My understanding that some confidential material, including with confidential material relating to witnesses, would have been deposited with the African Union, with the Eminent African Personalities panel.
Can you point to any provision in your appointment in the rules of procedure that authorised you to give information, confidential or otherwise, to foreigners and not to the appointing authority, namely the President of the Republic of Kenya? What was the legal basis for that choice to exclude the President of the Republic that appointed you?
I don't have a legal background, so I can't make any comment about that.
I'll move on. Witness,
wouldn't that be a matter of interpretation of the terms of reference of the Commission, and whether or not there was an excessive mandate proceeding that way?
well, Your Honour, we can argue that later, but I was asking what was the
Exactly.
legal provision or the authority that the Commissioner himself relied upon in forming the decision to discriminate, we say, against the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, and not give information to him as the appointing authority that's paying for the whole thing, and to give it to foreigners. That's my question, and I don't have a satisfactory answer. If the witness doesn't know, we can move on.
As you rightly said, it's a matter of interpretation of the terms of reference, on which arguments may be made later, if need be.
Witness, it's correct, is it not, and I'm relying upon page 17 of the WACI Commission, that alive to the purpose of your work, the purpose of the WACI Commission, and some of its difficulties and limitations, you held, or you found, or you accepted, I should say, you accepted that the evidence that the Commission has gathered so far is not, in our assessment, sufficient to meet the threshold of proof required for criminal matters in this country. That is beyond reasonable doubt. It may even fall short of proof required for international crimes against humanity. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And when you say short of proof required for international crimes against humanity, what did you mean? The widespread and systematic nature of the attack could not be proved?
I can't comment on that specific piece, I must say.
Great. Now, witness, of course, in the heat of conflict, so to speak, and even in the Commission, I'm sure, different accounts came forward and had to be assessed. It's correct, is it not? And it's page 72 of the report, and I'll read it.
What paragraph?
What's the paragraph, 72 and 73? Just before information. Just before information contained. Your Honour, just bear with me a moment. Your Honour, it's in your bundles. It's Ken OTP 0001-0444 and continues over the page to 0445, and it starts with the attacks on the Kiamba church was caused by some councillors who spread propaganda that the church held Mungiki adherents from Central Province who were ready to attack the local Nandi community. Do you remember hearing that evidence?
Sorry, page
Page 70, sir.
70?
The bottom, right at the bottom, last line, halfway through. The attacks on the Kiamba church was caused by some councillors who spread propaganda that the church held Mungiki adherents from Central Province.
Again, in fairness to this witness, the quote starts with another witness interviewed by the CPS investigators claims that, and then there's a quote. So this is a reference to the evidence of one witness.
Yes. Your Honour, it's not a matter of fairness. It's simply the point. Witness, do you remember that being said?
I must be on the wrong page. I'm on page 70 of the report, which...
Page 70.
70. It says 0444 on the bottom corner.
Yes, that's right. And the bottom there,
yeah.
furthermore, in a statement?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I see, sorry.
And then it says, the last line, and I was reading the bit I wanted. The attacks on the Kiamba church was caused by some councillors over the page who spread propaganda that the church held
Right.
and Ngiki adherents from Central Province who were ready to attack the local Nandi community.
Yes.
So a lot of rumour, speculation, allegation, counter-allegation was raised by various people before the Commission. Is that right?
Yes, there was certainly different views from different witnesses.
Yes. And then I want to take you, sir, to page 347 and 348.
In native to the report, or
Yes, the same report, sir, Your Honour.
347?
And it's headed Findings in Relation to Causes and Patterns of the Post-Election Violence in part, Chapter 9, Consequences, page 346. And it's at paragraph 2, Mr. Witness. Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
It's at paragraph 2, sir.
Yes.
And it says, initially, this is the causes and patterns of post-election violence. Initially, the violence witnessed was spontaneous and was in part a reaction to the perceived rigging of elections. In areas like the Rift Valley and the coast, it targeted members of the Kikuyu and Kisii communities, perceived to be associated with the PNU party and with President Kibaki, who were seen as the beneficiaries of the rigged elections. While in Nyanza and Western, the spontaneous violence was mostly directed towards government facilities and gradually took the form of looting and destruction. And while it also targeted Kikuyus and Kisis, the intention appeared to be not to kill them, but rather to be expel them and destroy their property. It goes on in the next paragraph, sir, paragraph 3.
Before you continue, the record must reflect that the word rigged appears in quotes
Indeed.
in the
Indeed.
report. Yes.
I'm grateful. And then in paragraph 3, subsequently, the pattern of violence showed planning and organization. Subsequently, the pattern of violence showed planning and organization by politicians, businessmen and others who enlisted criminal gangs to execute the violence. That was the case particularly in the Rift Valley and Nairobi. In places like Naivasha, Nakuru and the slum areas of Nairobi, Kikuyu gangs were mobilized and used to unleash violence against Luas, Luyas and Kalenjins and to expel them from their rented residences. And similarly, organized Kalenjin youth, particularly in the North Rift, attacked and drove out Kikuyus living there. You remember that being in the report. That's an accurate part of the report, is it not?
Yes, I should make a comment about paragraph 2.
Yes.
There appears to be a blunt finding there stating initially the violence witness was spontaneous.
Yes. If I can just pause there. This is, you accept, a proper version of the WACI report that was approved by the 3 commissioners
Yes, sir.
and was given to the President of the Republic of Kenya.
Yes, it is.
Yes, thank you.
May the witness now be allowed to finish his last answer, please.
Well,
Yeah, let him finish. He was going to make a comment on paragraph 2.
Yes, in reading this, it appears that that first sentence, taken broadly off the document here, is applying to the whole of Kenya for all of the violence. Now, I can't explain why that would say that, because that's not the findings in some other parts of the report.
yes, anything else, witness? Or is that
No.
it? I was taking, if you look at the next sentence, and then I'll move on. In areas like the Rift Valley and the coast, it targeted members of the Kikuyu and Kisii communities perceived to be associated with the PNU party. And it goes on to other spontaneous violence in Nyanza and Western. So you accept that that is a true record of the findings of the WACI Commission. One thing I wanted to ask you about, in the report, it's at page 379, it's actually said, 379, it's under Chapter 11, State Security Agencies, and then under KSIM, it is stated in the first paragraph, it is understood, page 376, Your Honour. Page 376. KSIM. 377, so I beg your pardon. 377, under KSIM, and then we're almost done. It says, it is understood that in fact the NSAC did not actually meet during the crisis period and communicated by other means, and it can be assumed that the CSC, that's the Cabinet Security Committee, was not functional during this important period. Do you remember that being stated?
Yes.
Are you aware, in fact, that the National Security Advisory Commission sat almost every single day during the violence? It was attended by people like General Gichangi, Futu Mwangi from the Foreign Office, the Attorney General Amos Wako, and so on and so forth. It was fully operational and sat almost every day during the violence. Are you aware of that?
No, I've got no comment to make.
You're not aware of that?
No.
I wanted to ask you if you could help me, based upon your very impressive and huge experience as a very senior police officer. Certain questions regarding best practice. Of course, we know the WACI Commission was not a criminal investigation. But I wanted to ask you a question. If you were conducting a criminal investigation, you were the chief investigator, and the allegation was that somebody had been driven out of their home and they had been forced to sell the land, what would you have done to check the veracity of that story? The most basic thing you would have done. Somebody had sold their land because he had been expelled. What would you have done, sir?
Fairly hypothetical
Yes.
question, obviously.
Yes, please.
So I'll just get you to repeat the ingredients.
An individual.
We don't have a lot of time. Why don't you put your proposition to him and let's
Okay,
get
I'll
his
put it directly.
reaction.
Is it right, sir, that as a senior, respected and law enforcement officer, if you were confronted with a complainant who said that he had been expelled from his land and had been forced to sell it, one of the things you would have done is check the land records for the sale? Is that right?
Among other things, in my experience in my own jurisdiction, investigations are comprehensive and cover every aspect of a criminal complaint.
And that's important where, in a criminal trial, the standard is beyond reasonable doubt. Is that right?
Sure, that's why.
And is it
And
fair?
also, Mr. Ken, don't forget the time constraint, not only for us, but for them at the time.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is not a criticism of you at all. I'm seeking to glean your experience for the benefit of the court and for the record about what is expected of a senior, experienced investigator when confronting serious allegations in a criminal trial. So it's not a criticism at all of you or of WACI. I understand completely. There was a massive amount of hard work in a short period of time, and you're to be applauded for it. So I just wanted to clarify that. Let me give you another example. Is one of the basic things you would have done, that in fact you would expect even from one of your junior constables, would have been to go to the neighbours and ask the neighbours what had happened if people had been driven out. Is that one of the things you would have done?
Well, that's part and parcel of what I would describe as a normal investigation. I mean, I know that a number of those things weren't done by the Kenyan Police Service because they're under pressure.
And if that same individual says that as part of that process of fleeing, he took refuge in a school, presumably you would have expected one of your junior officers to go to the school and ask the principal or the people in charge of that school, what happened? Did anybody stay here? If so, who stayed here? And that's what you'd expect, isn't it?
Well, among other things. Yeah.
And maybe, knowing it's a criminal trial and somebody's liberty is at stake, you may also have gone to look out for some of the family members and ask the family members, what did you experience? Is that true? Quite common, is it not?
Well, it's common to, depending on the seriousness of the, obviously of the crime, to exhaust as many avenues as you can to get to the truth of it.
So definitely, for crimes against humanity, a very serious crime indeed, you'd expect that basic investigative action. Is that right? In a criminal trial?
Investigators would exhaust every avenue open to them. In some cases that may be easy, in some cases that may be impossible, if not difficult.
Yes, I'm grateful. And if you could go now, my last question, it's page 456 of your report.
I hope we've moved away from that subject.
Yes.
I was wondering about the relevance of it. That was not a criminal trial, criminal inquiry, was it?
No, I will come to that, but we've
Yes.
already intimated we're seeking to call the investigator in charge of the prosecution case, and when a witness is able to speak to relevant matters that provides a foundation or a standard as to what should be expected in a criminal case as far as investigations are concerned.
So your last
Was focused on what happened in this case by this prosecution.
and not on
Not at
what
all
was done
on the
by
commission.
the
Not at all.
Waki Commission.
Not at all. It's what was not done by this prosecution opposite. Witness, if you could be so kind as to turn to page 456, chapter 12, impunity.
Yes.
I believe it's page 443, sir. Yeah, just look at this.
Did you say 456 or 443?
Your Honour, I probably gave the wrong number. It's actually page 454, Ken OTP -0001-0828. And it's the second paragraph. Have you got that, witness?
Yes, I have.
I'm immensely grateful. And your report stated this, and I want to read it to you and ask you if it's correct. A flawed investigative process is the very antithesis of a successful prosecution. In other words, the quality of the investigation affects the outcome of both the prosecution and the adjudication of the matter. Do you agree with that statement, sir?
As a general principle, I'd agree with that.
It's bang on right, isn't it?
He said he would agree with it.
I have no further questions. Thank you very much, witness, for bearing with us, and I know from my learned friend that you will be happy to go by 4 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your Honours, if I may just briefly indicate that since the luncheon adjournment, there are one or two aspects I would like to re-examine on. It won't be more than 5 minutes.
We have to vacate this courtroom and discharge this witness at 4 o'clock. No later than that. Mr. Keegan Katwa, how much time would you need? The prosecutor has indicated he would need 5 minutes. Okay. So far, to re-examine.
My estimate is not more than 20 minutes, Your Honor. I could make it shorter, Your Honor.
Very good. Please proceed.
Now, Mr. McFadden, I would like to take you to page 302 of the CPEP report. Your Honor, for the record, that year-end reference is OTP-OTP-0001-0676.
What paragraph are you looking at?
I'm looking at the last paragraph, Your Honor. Mr. McFadden, you can see the last paragraph. Are you there, Mr. Witness?
Yes, I am.
Now, I'd like you to confirm that this is what you said in as part of your report, headed "The Media and the Post-Election Violence," which starts at page 295, Ken OTP 0001-0669. That this is what you said, that the Commission would like to have thoroughly analyzed a full body of transcripts from Kenya's vernacular FM stations, given the allegations against them made by a number of Commission's witnesses. You confirm that you recognize this observation as part of your report, isn't it?
Yes, that's part of the report.
Now, the first question I would like to ask you in respect to that is that in actual fact, as you state in the second line, you were interested in thoroughly analyzing a full body of transcripts from Kenya's vernacular FM stations, and my emphasis is on the fact that it was more than one station, isn't it, Mr. Mafaya?
Yes.
Now, I would like to take you back for one moment to page 295 of the same report, just a few pages back, and the ERN number is KEN-OTP-0001-0669. Now, Mr. Manufacturer, I have reference to, I want to invite you to the last paragraph about the last for the sentence in the middle starting with the words, these included the vernacular music and negative ethnicity. Can you see that, Mr. McFadden?
Yes.
Now, if I could read it and then you confirm. These included the vernacular music and negative ethnicity allegedly coming from Kikuyu FM stations, including Kameme, Inoro, Soro, and others in other parts of the country. Can you see that, Mr. McFadden?
Yes, I can.
Spell.
The first station is Kameme, K-A-M-E-M-E. The next one is Inoro, I-N-O-O-R-O. The third one is C-O-R-O, Shoro. Mr. Mafaiden, I'd like to take you next to page 299 of the same document you hold. And I would like to invite you to the second paragraph at that page, starting with the words Dr. Bitange Ndemo. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now, could you confirm this is what the observations you made? Dr. Bitange Ndemo submitted to the commission of letters and internal memos his ministry had received from two pastors. One voicing concerns about KAS FM breakfast show, Lene made on 19th February 2007, and another on 29th November 2007, complaining about various aspects of KISS FM, Classic FM, and ECFM. Can you see that, Mr. Mike Fajan?
Yes, I can.
Now, without necessarily having to go back to what I invited you at page 295, you would confirm that, as it were, you already have 7 stations you were looking at, being variously Kameme, which we've just seen, Inoro FM, which we've just spelled out, Shoro, ECFM, KISS FM, Classic FM, and KAS FM, isn't it?
Yes, there are a number of stations.
Mr. McFadden, I would like you also to look at page 300 of the same report. Page 300, and the ERN number is Ken-OTP-0001-0674, and I have particular interest in what is contained in the middle of that, the second paragraph in the middle, starting with the words, he admitted that he did not have specific examples. Can you see that, Mr. McFadden?
Yes, I can.
Then I will read. He admitted that he did not have specific examples of what actually was said by KAS FM or by Change FM, the 2 vernacular stations in his area. Can you see that, Mr. McFadden?
Yes, I can.
Spell Change.
Your Honor, the spelling here is C-H-A-N-G-E-Y. But I think it's an agreed position that the real spelling for that station is C-H-A-M-G-E-Y. M in place of N.
Prosecution does not dispute that, Your Honours, but I wonder if my learned friend is going to finish the sentence.
I will, Your Honor. I had no intention to avoid finishing it. He admitted that he did not have specific examples of what actually was said by either KAS FM or by Change FM, the 2 vernacular stations in his area. Nevertheless, adding that it is common knowledge that it is what happened, referring to the hate and incitement allegedly propagated by KAS FM.
Also, in the quote, it is common knowledge that this is what happened. The phrase appears in quote within the paragraph. You don't need to react to that. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, lastly, Mr. Mafajan, in terms of the stations that were brought to your attention, the FM stations, I want you to go to page 302, ERN reference Ken-OTP-0001-0676. Mr. Mafajan, I'd like you to go to paragraph 3, starting with the words, some few exceptions. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Now, could you confirm this is the report you made in respect to this issue? Some few exceptions to the above generalization of no concrete information are two examples of FM hate speech the Commission received. One, from Bahasha FM in Nakuru, recorded at 8 a.m. on 30th January 2008, and received by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, notes, KNHCR. In quotes, Kikuyu are like mongoose, which is ready to eat chickens. All other tribes, i.e. Luo, Kisi, Luyas, are all animals in the forest. They cannot be able to lead this country like Kikuyus, close of quotation. Secondly,
always spell the words. The court reporters, I'm not sure they have this report on hand. Even if they do, it's more efficient to spell the words as you encountered them.
I apologize, Your Honor. I'll read it again and spell them as I come.
Bahasha, you need just to spell Bahasha and move on.
The spelling of Bahasha is Bahasha.
Now, you are beginning to read second.
Witness, you proceeded. Second, Nam Lolwe Station in Kisumu. The spelling of Nam Lolwe is N-A-M, then space, L-O-L-W-E. This is what you said. Second, Nam Lolwe Station in Kisumu broadcast the following from an anonymous caller. Quotation, opening of quotation. Our people are dying in Naivasha and Nakuru, and some other tribes are living with us. They should be flushed. Into brackets, sick. Out of those who don't belong to this town, and then the close of quotation. You can see that, Mr. Witness, and you can confirm that was part of what you observed in your report, isn't it?
Yes, I can see that, and that's part of the report.
Now, I would like to take you to page 300 of the report. Just before I ask you a question, page 301, page 301, before I take you back to that page 302.
You're a minute to your 20 minutes, Mr. KenyaMOJA.
Now, Mr. McFadden, can you see in the second paragraph the place where the CCK and the KNHCR? You can see that.
Sorry, we're in which page again?
Page 301. ERN Ken-OTP-0001-0675. You can see that, Mr. Witness.
Yes, I'm on that page.
Can you see the words CCK and the KNHCR just below 2007? Can you see that?
What paragraph?
It's second paragraph, towards the end of that second paragraph.
CCK, did you say?
Yes.
Yes,
CCK
yes.
and the
7 lines up from the bottom of that paragraph.
Yes, I see that.
Okay, I want to read from the full stop, immediately after the full stop, KNHCR, and this is what you said. The result is that the Commission was unable to acquire any tapes or transcripts by the CAS FM or other FM vernacular stations from, before, during, or immediately after the 2007 elections. Hence, to some extent, the Commission situation is not dissimilar to that of the DC for Koibatek. It had many allegations of what was said, but it does not have the actual transcripts of who said exactly what during this very critical period. Could you confirm that's what the observation you made, Mr. Witness?
So I can confirm that's part of our report.
Now, just for emphasis, Mr. McFadden, could you confirm that in fact it is your position that you do not receive any transcript at all?
No, I don't recall receiving a transcript.
Could you also confirm from the observation you make in that statement that it was not only KAS FM but also the other FM stations I've just invited you to?
Well, yes, the Commission was interested in any hate speech or other such broadcast from any stations.
And lastly, on that page, Mr. McFadden, I would like you to look at the second sentence of that paragraph, starting with the words "in his testimony." Can you see that? The same page 301, paragraph 2, the second statement starting with the word "in his testimony."
Line 3 from the top of that
Yes.
paragraph.
Yes.
Could you confirm this is, my interest in that paragraph, in that sentence is the time frame, that this is the observation you made. In his testimony to the Commission, Dr. Ndemo said he would provide the Commission with tapes from the Ministry monitoring from KAS FM from October 2007 until March 2008. Could you confirm that's the position?
Yes.
Lastly, Mr. McFadden, you confirm that your inability to access any transcripts is not a situation that related to only KAS FM but to all the other FM stations, isn't it?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Mr. McFadden, I'd like to request you to go to page 303. ERN reference is Ken-OTP-0001-0677. And I'd like you to look at the last sentence you've made in that report. Are you there? You've seen that?
Yes.
Starting with the words, however.
Yes.
Could you confirm that this is the conclusion you made in the entirety of your investigation relating to media, that this is what you said? However, the Commission does believe that hate speech in the media, including in vernacular FM radio stations, aiming to foment ethnic hatred and or incite, organize or plan for violence should be investigated thoroughly in a timely fashion when it occurs. Could you confirm that's what you said?
Yes, indeed.
Now, going back to page 302, Mr. McFadden, paragraph 3. Are you there?
Yes.
The sentence starts, that paragraph starts with these words: some few exceptions to the above generalization of no concrete information are two examples of FM speech the Commission received. You can see that?
Yes, I can.
Do you confirm as a general proposition that in fact the two exceptions of lack of concrete information does not include KAS FM? Let me put the question differently. Could you confirm that in fact at the end of the day you did not receive any concrete complaint about KAS FM?
Did you say that we hadn't received a complaint?
Okay, I'm making specific reference to what you said in your report at that paragraph. And you've identified a few exceptions, being the two stations, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, I asked a different question before about whether it received complaints about FM stations, which there was certainly information received about FM stations, including KAS FM. But this here says about examples of hate speech, specifically.
Yeah, I would put it differently, Mr. McFadden. that in this paragraph you cite instances when you had concrete information, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And my question is that in the scope of the instances when you had concrete information, CASFM is not one of them, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's easy to look to analyse line by line out of a report, frankly, but
okay, we'll move on to...
Well,
sorry.
no. No.
Now, you were also shown the letter at tab 25, I think, referring to a ban of broadcast, and you were about to explain what that ban, what the exact scope of that ban. Could you explain?
Well, I'd have to have a look at the document, but it's a one-page document. I don't know if I'm
Can we
fully able to explain the impact of it, frankly.
If I can assist my learned friend, this part of the evidence is referred to in the report at page 297, the first paragraph, what exactly was banned.
If you could look at tab 25, Mr. Marfajan, letter invoking powers of Section 88 of the Communication Act. Are you there?
Not yet. I am now.
No, Mr. Marfajan, this letter is dated the 30th of December 2007, and you'd confirm that this is a period that the Commission was interested in, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And what was the Commission's understanding of what this ban entailed?
There was quite a bit of discussion about this ban before the Commission. Dr. Ndemo explained about it, and from memory, the then Attorney General also had a view about the ban. Now, this is just a one-page piece, and I would need to refer to other commentary to refresh my understanding about the ban, but suffice to say, I believed that it was a blanket ban on the media, on radio.
Mr. King,
I don't want to.
Mr. King, we don't have much time. You will have to stop in 2 minutes. Can you put your proposition to the witness on that?
Mr. Witness, is it your recollection that the ban made a ban to all broadcasts, or what is the extent of the broadcast that was allowed vis-a-vis what was banned?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Well, something that's wrong, I'm sorry. But I thought it was a blanket ban that was in place for some time that would have impacted a number of media.
Okay, 2 last questions. You've been asked very specifically whether the name of William Ruto was in the envelope that you delivered separately to the eminent Africans as opposed to the president. May I ask you if you recall if Mr. Joshua Sang's name was in that envelope?
No, I don't recall.
Now, when you made the prosecution, you gave them some documents of some pages that were missing from the report. Do you recall that?
I don't understand the question.
When you made the prosecution, you indicated to them that there are some pages which were missing from the report that they had shown you. Do you recall that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there were some appendices and things, yeah.
Did it include the contents of what is referred to as being names in an envelope?
No.
I would like to ask you lastly about the observations you are asked to make in respect to the bundle, the blue bundle. If you could go there, please.
Green one?
Green bundle, tab 10. At page 4395, Ken-OTP-0005-5490. Can you see that, Mr. McFadden?
Just a moment. 4395. Yes, I have 4395.
Now, your attention was taken directly to what is contained, the observations made by the chairman. Can you see that? Thank you very much. Lastly, Mr. Katwa, you may also remove your mask of Tekla Lorube and wear the mask of ODM 3 minutes. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Could you confirm that in the subsequent observations and comments made, the person referred to did not admit that in fact it is the case that he was wearing any mask?
Look,
I don't know. What does this have to do with the charges before this court?
Mr. Kigen-Katwa, we have to leave it at that. It was your learned friend that made that suggestion.
Your Honor, if you could just allow me to have the witness answer that question, that's so important for me.
I have no objection to the transcript being admitted into evidence if that helps.
Mr. Kigen-Katwa, that's not...
With that, Your Honor, I'm okay with that. Sure. Your Honor, that should be all the questions I had for this witness.
Thank you. Mr. McFadden, the defense counsel have finished their cross-examinations. Mrs. Steinberg, you said you have questions in re-examination.
I see we have exactly 5 minutes left, so I'll be held to my promise, I'm sure. Yes, Your Honour, one or two. Perhaps I can start in reverse order with some of the material covered by my learned friend for Mr. Sang. My learned friend referred you to page 295 of the report, ERN 0669, and to the third paragraph where he singled out two sentences. I'd just like you to read the sentence that was left out, starting with "in particular." You confirmed that the report said, "In particular, they singled out KAS FM as having contributed to a climate of hate, negative ethnicity, and having incited violence in the Rift Valley." Is that part of your report?
Yes, it is.
So where it was put to you that there were no complaints about KAS FM, that was not correct?
No.
And it's argumentative.
As the court pleases. Now, as regards the nature of the political broadcast, can I ask you to cast your eye to the next page, 296. Two-thirds of the way down that paragraph, after the quotes, "the country on the brink," if you look for the quotation.
Where are you, sorry?
Page 296, the second paragraph, two-thirds of the way down. A sentence starting, "faced with an unprecedented outbreak of violence." Just over halfway down, in fact.
Yes, I have that.
Faced with the unprecedented outbreak of violence following the announcement of the presidential results and threats of more violence, the witness, and this is Dr. Ndemo, said the ministry asked the media houses to desist from live broadcasts concerning politics, even though the ministry itself had no way of fully enforcing its demands. Does that refresh your memory as to the nature of the ban?
Yes, it does.
Does that accord with your memory?
Yes, that's right.
Now, you were asked by my learned friend...
Mr. Steinberg, don't do that again. That's not the way to do it.
I beg your pardon, Lord. I'm trying to proceed as quickly as possible. You were asked about whether or not you had access to transcripts or recordings of vernacular broadcasts. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And can I refer you to page 301 of the report? Besides the requests from the ministry, did you make any attempts to obtain such recordings from the stations themselves, according to your recollection?
My recollection is that we did, but none were forthcoming.
Now, my learned friend for Mr. Ruto asked you various questions about the proper way of conducting examinations. You've confirmed that there was certain evidence regarding vernacular stations that you would have liked to have had, but you were unable to obtain such evidence. In your experience in your domestic jurisdiction of New Zealand, if police were interested in obtaining records of land transactions, would they normally be able to access that information?
Currently, sales of properties are accessible in New Zealand, usually at a cost. Online, in fact.
And are there any parts of New Zealand where investigators are unable to access due to security concerns?
Certainly none that I'm aware of.
And in New Zealand, generally speaking in criminal matters, is there a need to observe secrecy as to the identity of witnesses due to fear of reprisals?
On occasion, but infrequently. And of course, in that respect, that particular jurisdiction is fortunate enough to have a comprehensive witness protection arrangement.
If I can ask you to turn briefly to page 345 and 346 of your report. You were referred to paragraph 2 of page 346 by my learned friend from Mr. Ruto. Can I just direct your attention to page 345, and that's ERN 0719. And in the first paragraph, the report sets out the vast number of documents and witness statements reviewed by the Commission. Could I just ask you to read out the second paragraph, please?
Starting the preceding.
Indeed.
The preceding chapters make various findings in relation to the topics discussed, and those findings remain valid. What follows is a summary of the broad findings as distilled by the Commission. Oh, sorry.
Now, as regards paragraph 2 on page 346, as regards paragraph 2 on page 346, you made some comments about how this, what we now know as a broad finding, corresponded with other more specific findings in your report. Would you like to enlarge upon that? Specifically, what's contained here about initially the violence witnesses was spontaneous.
Well, yes, that particular piece, can't apply to the entire, all of the areas in Kenya. I mean, it does say what it says, but in my view, it has to be seen in the context of what was findings in different areas.
Thank you, Your Honours. Thank you, Ms. Mufadjian. I have no further questions.
Thank you, witness, and the Chamber has no question for you. And we thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you safe travels, and we wish you all the best in your circumstances as well.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thanks. That brings us to the end of our proceedings for today. That's the end of the witnesses we have for this segment.
That's correct, Your Honour.
The Chamber will be adjourning, and we will advise parties of when next we convene after the judicial recess.
I'm grateful. And Mr. President, in the course of my questioning, I won't say more in open session, you asked a question. What I'll do with your leave is send an email to the bench and copy in the prosecution to that discrete question. But I'll do that today, unless you've got 1 minute and I can raise that in the absence of the current witness.
All right, okay.
I'm grateful.
Court is adjourned. Thank you.
All rise. We will be.